So I might have impulsively got a whole lot of fabric. Hi, I'm Shazzy and this is ShazzyExplores. Fun tidbit about me is I'm quite indecisive. I have a Pinterest board filled with hundreds of different sewing patterns that I want to try, but the moment I get to the step where I need to buy the fabric, I end up chickening out because I'm worried I'm going to make the wrong decision. So instead of doing that, I've decided to get the fabric and then pick the patterns from there on what I think I want to make out of it. I found some hopefully really nice fabric off of Dalston Mill. They had a clearance bundle for plain fabric, which was about £24 with shipping, and ended up being around £1 per meter. It's about 20 meters minimum. However, it might be more. I will be measuring the fabric. Let's see if I ended up getting really nice fabric, the nice colors, because that was something I saw a little bit concerned about, is that some people got upholstery fabric and then some people just didn't like the colors. But with it being a clearance bundle, there is always the chance of that happening. Anywho, enough rambling. Let's get this bag opened up and see what I got. Alright, so the first fabric is this very dark blue navy, and it's got quite a nice feel to it. I don't think wearing it would be itchy. The weave is definitely looser on the inside than it is on the outside. Well, the wrong side and the right side. I did some googling on fabric terminology just before this video, so I don't sound completely unknowledgeable. Anywho, the lengthwise has very little stretch. As for the crosswise weave, a little bit, and then the most stretch is in the bias, so I would probably cut any pattern pieces on the bias so that way I have the most stretch and breathability. As for the type of fabric, I believe it is a polycotton, just based on the feel. It doesn't feel completely like it's a polyester fabric. I could be wrong there. I am just basing it off of the potential fabrics that were listed on the Dalston Mill webpage. Now time to go measure this. The fabric ended up being 140 centimeters wide by 350 centimeters long. I had a look at my Pinterest at a few potential sewing patterns that I could use this fabric for, including the puff sleeve. There's a tabard vest, which is more of a fantasy feel, but I think this color would look absolutely wonderful. So yeah, I'm excited to sew with this. So this second fabric is definitely different to the first that was in the bag. It's a red wine color, and the fabric itself has this very interesting sheen texture. Let me hold it up for you. Hopefully you can see it all right. The inside, or the wrong side, definitely is smoother than the outside, which is always a plus. There is a bit of dirt I'm spotting here, but very little, and hopefully it will be able to be washed out. As for the stretch, I think it's just a all-around very stretchy fabric. So 4-way stretch. The type of fabric I would say is probably a polyester mix, and due to the stretchiness, it probably has a high percentage of elastane within it. This fabric ended up being a little less wide than the original at 130 centimeters, but it did end up being quite a bit longer at 400 centimeters. And I had a peruse on Pinterest again, and I found some really interesting patterns that I think could work on it. The first one that jumped out on me, and maybe it's because the colors are very similar, was the snowdrop capelet. And then there is this cute tie-up blouse that I saw, as well as a skirt. I think it was called the poppy skirt, as well as the sonnet dress, because I thought this fabric could make quite a whimsical dress with how it drapes. The next fabric out of the bag is this creme yellow color, and it feels quite similar to the navy blue, which I'm excited for. As for the stretch of the fabric, on the lengthwise there is a bit of stretch, on the crosswise very little, and then the bias, as predicted, also has quite a bit of stretch. I'm guessing the fabric is similar to the navy blue fabric, which was I believe, a poly cotton blend, and the feel of it is very similar to that fabric as well. I've measured this fabric and it ended up being 150 centimeters by 300 centimeters in length, and this fabric I think might be perfect to remake a top I've recently made in a white lace. Just because how I made it, I think I could do a better job. I've also had a peruse again on Pinterest, and there was a pinafore that I think would look really lovely with it, as well as a blouse that was again in a similar color, but I think the flow of the fabric would work wonderfully to recreate that. So this is definitely different than the previous three fabrics. It is a very dark green. It reminds me kind of like forest core, goblin core. It feels very soft and it's very thick. Quite a stretchy material as well. It definitely is a four-way stretch. And from the feel of it, I would probably say it is some sort of polyester blend with a very high elastin content. And I think this is the first fabric I received in this bundle that is closer to potentially a furniture fabric than it is a clothing fabric. So this fabric ended up being 133 centimeters in width and 300 centimeters in length, and I think there is potential use of the fabric. It does remind me of Skims dresses that I've seen people make online, and those should be easy because they're just kind of like tubes. And with the stretch of this material, as long as I don't overstretch it, I think it could work quite well. It also reminds me of like swimwear, so that could be fun. I've never actually made a swimsuit before, or athleisure wear, because the fabric also reminds me of leggings, so I might make a matching set out of this. So quite a lot of options actually, and I'm feeling a bit more optimistic now that I've had a time to think of what I could potentially use this fabric than what I did when I first got it out of the bag. Well, this fabric definitely feels like a wild card in relation to the color. It is a neon yellow. That said, it does have quite a nice feel. It is soft and not scratchy. As for the stretch, the lengthwise stretch has a bit of stretch, the crosswise also a little bit, and on the bias the most stretch, so probably a four-way stretch material, but on the smaller side of the stretch for that. And as for the type of material, it doesn't feel like it's got any cotton in relation to what the navy blue and what the creme fabric felt like, so I'm guessing it's some sort of polyester blend. Alright, so the fabric is 160 centimeters wide by 300 centimeters in length, so there is quite a lot of this color, and I have thought about it. I don't think I would really use it in this original color, even for athleisure wear. I am not someone who's gravitated toward neon. That said, I think it is a polyester blend. I would probably just cut off a bit of the selvage to do a dye check, because dye, just like everything else nowadays, is quite expensive. That said, I have looked on Pinterest and found a few patterns that I think would work well. The first was like a Ren Fair leaf pouch that I'd probably try to not fully recreate because they are selling it, but be inspired by. And then I might actually keep the inside neon as like a fun pop of color, and then dye the outside a darker green and do hand embroidery stitching. I also found a dress that I think this type of material would work well on because of the flow, called the poppy dress. And there was also a set that I found online called the Sienna skirt, and I'm guessing the top might be called the same, but I'm not 100% sure. There's a few other patterns that I think might work well, but I'll just pop them on the screen now. Well, this is definitely a 180 from the neon fabric. This is a cool slate gray color, and it is very much different from the other materials that we've seen so far. It's got like a shine to it, which is quite interesting. As for the stretch, on the lengthwise, there isn't much stretch. As for the grain wise, also not very much, and there is a little bit of stretch on the bias. As for the type of material, I'm guessing it's either polyester or poly cotton blend. It could be completely off, it could be some sort of natural fabric, I'm not sure. I have measured this and it is 150 centimeters by 320 centimeters. When it comes to how the flow is, I keep thinking of bottoms. I think a trouser such as the Ember trouser pattern or a long skirt such as the Heather skirt might be good. I've also seen a couple of shorts that might be nice. There is definitely a lot of potential with it. So the last fabric ended up being a duplicate of the olive green fabric regarding the material. That said, this color is absolutely gorgeous and I think I would probably be more likely to wear this color than the olive green. That said, I'm gonna go measure it and think about potential projects that I could use this for. So this ended up being one of the smaller fabric pieces that I received in the package. It was 150 by 280 centimeters. The uses of this are very similar to what I was thinking for the olive green, where it's like athleisure wear or potentially a swimsuit. I do really like this color, so I might have my hand at trying to reupholster my office chair just because it's a bit old, and I think this would be a fun pop of color in there. I ended up with a total of 22.5 meters of fabric for a price of £24 with shipping. So that is just over £1 per meter of fabric. So I can't complain whatsoever. I've got quite a range of colors. There is some repeat fabric with the material, with the blue and green, as well as these two, although this one is thicker. So I have got what I think is a decent variety. And overall, if you live in the UK, I would highly suggest getting fabric from Dalston Mill, especially if you get their bundles. I ended up getting a solid color bundle, but they also had one with patterns, and I do believe you can get bundles specifically for certain materials, but I just wanted to get one where it's a mixture just so I can see what I can make with what type of fabric, and so it was a bit more of a surprise. Overall, definitely would recommend. I'll have a link to them down in the description. I don't know if they do any shipping worldwide, but I do know that they do it in the UK. Leave your comments down below on which of the patterns that you think would work best for the material, whether it was ones that I've shown today or just pieces that you've seen online or even in person that you think might work really well for these. But until next time, don't forget to embrace, create, and explore.